Vast tonnages of waste are generated daily. If you're unlucky enough to be around during a garbage strike or an extended snow emergency, those tonnages assume a visceral reality. But most of the time, that reality is virtual, because somehow our unwanted stuff keeps disappearing. It moves away from us in pieces, truck by truck, barge by barge, in a process that is as constant as it is invisible. Now, as I paddled slowly through the Gowanus feculence, my curiosity grew. I understood that my regular trash went to some kind of landfill, but what about my recyclable tuna fish cans and my plastic shampoo bottles? These containers were tipped into the same truck, but surely the combined waste streams were at some point teased apart. Where? And by whom? And then what? My waste was no longer within my sight or smell, but surely it fell within others. What impact did my rejected meant to have on other living things? Once I started to think about these questions, I couldn't let them go. I felt drawn to the Gowanus for atavistic reasons. Who doesn't like the shore? But I was also interested in the canal as a backyard conduit and as a junkyard of sorts. Over the years, the Gowanus has developed a reputation as a dumping ground for the mob. A character in Jonathan Letham's Motherless Brooklyn refers to the canal as the only body of water in the world that is 90% guns. Some of New York's garbage infrastructure was overt, some was covert, and the Gowanus seemed to fall somewhere in between. The canal was 100 feet wide and 1.8 zigzagging miles long, not counting the 3 spurs, called turning basins, that led to the loading docks of warehouses and factories along the avenues. There were enormous gravel barges tied to the canal's edge and sunken barges sitting on its bottom. Among the facilities that actually made use of the water were an asphalt plant, which used to incorporate the city's recycled glass into glassfault, a marine transfer station where the borough's residential garbage had, until a year ago, been tipped into barges bound for Staten Island's Fresh Kills landfill, a couple of cement factories, and 2 fuel oil companies. A guy named Orion lived on a houseboat near Carroll Street, and Lenny, the chicken man, Thomas, worked atop the Union Street Bridge, raising the drawbridges when tallish boats requested it, and developing recipes for street cart barbecue when they didn't. When the Dutch first arrived in Brooklyn, in the early part of the 17th century, the Gowanus was a tidal creek that ran through the Salt Marsh Valley between Park Slope, where I lived, and Carroll Gardens. Native Americans lived well on fin and shellfish they collected in the briny waters. The Dutch harvested local oysters and exported them by the barrelful to Europe. Oysters as big as dinner plates, Owen Foote, a co-founder of the Gowanus Dredgers Canoe Club, said to me, "Everyone who talks or writes about New York City oysters uses dinnerware as a measuring stick." Gradually, dams and landfill altered the salt marsh's ecology. In 1849, the New York State Legislature authorized construction of a straightened and walled canal. Of course, the Gowanus wasn't really a canal, since it didn't connect anything, but creeks didn't qualify for state construction money. South Brooklyn was rapidly becoming industrialized, and the canal, completed in the late 1860s, was soon lined with stone yards, flour mills, chemical plants, cement works, and factories that turned out paint, ink, and soap. By then, Brooklyn was America's 3rd largest city. Barges hauling stone, lumber, and brick, the stuff that built my apartment house and its environs in the 1880s, jostled for position in the harbor, waiting to enter the canal. Almost from the beginning, the Gowanus was a filthy place. With limited tidal exchange to open water, the discharge of raw sewage, combined with unregulated industrial waste, stagnated. Local residents, appalled by the stench, launched a campaign for improvement. In 1911, the city completed construction of the Gowanus Flushing Tunnel, designed to suck 200 million gallons of water a day from the East River, flush it for more than a mile underneath Brooklyn, and then discharge it into the back end of the canal. The neighborhood celebrated the pump's opening on a June afternoon with Miss Gowanus gliding up the canal on a barge, strewing flower petals in her wake. In the years following World War I, the Gowanus moved 6 million tons of material a year. It was the nation's busiest commercial canal. But it didn't last. After World War II, the Gowanus Expressway was opened, and trucks gradually siphoned work from barges. The canal became a stinky anachronism. The pump broke in 1961.